Hi, Nicholas here. Welcome to the Akousunesis method. Today we're going to look at inverting melodies. Now, why would you want to invert a melody? You've come up with some melody, so a sequence of notes. Well, when you invert a melody, you invoke a different feeling about it because what you're doing is you're creating a different mode of that original melody. It becomes a new melody, and then it'll have a new feeling. So I'll give you an example on how we go about to do this. It's not too complicated actually. It's quite simple. So if we have a simple melody here, so we've got two examples. One's harder than the other one. So this is very simple. Now, to invert anything, right, in music, let's just have a look at a basic chord, right? So there's a chord C, E, and G, right? To invert anything, you take the lowest note and move it to the higher position. So the lowest note here is C. If we move it up here, that we call it just the first inversion. So we've just taken the bass note and moved it up there. And that's the first version of the chord C, right? And if we take E and move it up there, we call that the second inversion, right? And finally, if we take the G and move it up here, we end up with the original, right? So there's three ways we can play this triad within this octave here range, right? So, and when you play them differently, they have a different harmonic formula. This is a 1, 3, 5. When I play it like this, right? That's a 1. That's a minor third there, right? And this distance here, right? If that's a fifth, that's a plus 5, right? So it's minor third plus 5. If we take that, move it up to here, still the chord C, different bass note, so we're creating slash chords, right? This here is a fourth. This interval is a fourth, right? So the first interval is a fourth, 1, 4, and then we have a 6. There's a fifth, that's a 6. 1, 4, 6. And then when we invert one more time, we go back to the original, 1, 3, and a 5. Different harmonic formulas. Right? That's that, and they're unique, right? Because we get a different harmonic formula. But there's some scales and melodies that don't produce unique, like a whole tone scale won't produce unique when we invert them. They just produce the same harmonic formula. But we're just going to look at something very basic today. So here's our first melody. It contains these notes, C, E, F, and G. Right, so all it's doing is going up. So looking at a finger placement exercise, we can even see where the fingers go, okay? So C is the root of the exercise, we're rising. Right thumb on 1, middle finger on 3, ring on 4, pinky on 5, right? 1, 3, 4, 5. Now, if we just play that and listen to that, so we're going to use our ears with this as well, because what we're going to do is to find the next inversion, right? We're going to just play that and listen to that. The first inversion will take that C and play it up there, right? So they're the last three notes, right? Right? So that is inversion number 1, which is here. So E is the bass note, right thumb on 1, index on the -2, right, which is the F note. So when we invert these, all these notes are going to we're going to use all the same notes. So, and each time we invert it, we're going to have a new formula. In this case, we got 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, -2, -3, +5, 1, 2, 5, 7, 1, 4, 6, -7. And these are the bass notes. We get a new bass note. You'll see the first note C, when we invert it, we're going to get the bass note E, then the bass note F, then the bass note G here. Okay? So with this the first inversion, so let's listen to that. Now, if we're going to play that E now up here, we're going to invert it again. So we're just going to listen to, there's the first note. So that is number second inversion, where we got F is the start with the right thumb on 1, index on 2, right? Ring on the 5th, there's a 5th, and that's a major 7th on the pinky, right? So that's inversion 2. So have a look at it, listen to inversion 2. All right, so listen to the last 3 notes, and then we're going to play that up there, the F. The F is going to be played up there, so it's... So, sorry, I just lost it. So, where are we? So it gets trickier when we come down here, right? So the notes we have here, start again, right? And then we're going to play your E, F. And that's the final one. So we got G on 1, index on 4 here. That's a 4th because there's a 5th. Ring on 6. There's a 6. All right. So, and I've written them down with the finger placements. All right. So it can get a bit tricky, you know, because you can either read, you can just learn each one, read it, and then listen to it. So we'll just start again. So show you what I mean. Right, so we're listening to this, and then we're listening to the last 3 notes. And then we know that we're just adding that note up there. And then we'll listen to the last 3 notes. We're going to add the E. All right. Now we're just going to move the F up. Listen to those 3 notes. And add the F. All right. And then move the G up. And we're back to where we were. All right. So we have different melodies, different harmonic formulas, and how do we use this? Okay, let's say we're writing a song and we want to just come up with ideas. Because we're using the same notes and we're not adding new notes, and we're rising up, there's a familiarity. We get familiar with the notes we're using and the sound, and we've got different emotional feelings, right? Because that's a major, right? And when we start to add chords, we can really bring it out. But we're just listening to the melodies at the moment, right? So we could put some words to this and say, one day I flew, whatever. One day I flew far away to... And then we could keep on going. A place where I... And we keep on going. I don't know where I went to, whatever. Anyway, as you come up to the same melody. So you're coming back to something familiar where you started from. So it's giving you with one melody, because you have 4 notes, you by just inverting, you've got 4 other melodies. You've got 4 melodies in total, melody for each note. And it can just help you come up with new ideas or where you want your song to go. And then we can start. Well, this is in the key of C, right? We just haven't come out of a key. When we invert, we're staying in the same tonality. So if we're in the key of C, we're going to stay in the key of C. Whatever key we're in, we're going to stay in that key, right? Because we're not changing the notes at all, right? These are called modes. So each inversion is a different mode of this scale, right? And in the last 2 lessons, we talked about modes of melodies, right? Not to get confused with the natural modes, right, of the C Western major scale. C Western major scale is, you can consider it as a melody also, right? And you can invert them and create all your modes. You can take that lower note, bring it up there. If I just play up to the 7 here, right? Then I take that C, play it up there, and start on D, and play up to the D. We'll play up to the C, then take that D, E, move it up. And yeah, basically you're creating all the modes, right? They're the natural modes. Whereas we can describe any melody in terms of natural modes, and we've looked at that in previous lessons, right? But in this case, this is a little simpler too, because you just have to remember the notes of your melody, right? Just remember they're the notes, in this particular case, C, E, F, and G. And you can scan the keyboard and just look for those notes, right? And you can play them in any order, any way you like. And then you could start putting chords to them too, to increase the feeling you're getting. Because if I'm playing this right here with a second, I might put the E minor in. If I put an E minor, that sounds pretty harsh there like that, but a second can be so beautiful in the right context. So, and you can try different chords with that melody. And we're just sticking to one key signature, key C in this case. All right, so that's inverting a melody. So let's look at a bit of harder melody with some rhythm in it, a little bit of rhythm. So this one, so our original melody, we're just going to use the same notes, right? So we're using the same notes. But this melody, again, starts on C. So instead of just doing this, it goes 1, right? So right thumb on 1, middle, hit it twice. We've got those 2 3s there. Right, so up to the 4, then down back to the 3, then back up to the 4 over here, and then 5. So that's a finger placement exercise. We've seen these. All right, so if we're going to play that, we want to start inverting that. And we want to use a bit of our ear to make it a bit easier to do it visually. So we can do it visually by just looking down, listening, noting what notes and where we're going to go. We're going to put the C up there, right? We can also do it by just looking at the finger placement exercise and working it out. But to understand what we're doing, this is a good way too, because we can just see that we're just taking the bass note and moving it up. So if we play the original one, we'll just let our ear get used to the melody. Right? And then we're going to leave the first note out and just listen to starting from the second note. Because that's going to be the start of the next inversion melody. And we'll take that C now and move it up here. And we'll also reposition our fingers for our thumbs. So they're all listed here, the fingers you can use. And that's our second melody. That's our first inversion, which is the second melody. And then we can just listen. So we start with a double there, right? Double note. So we'll leave that out. So that's going to be the start of our second inversion number 2. And then we're going to put in, because we've left out the double note, we're going to have to put it in. So in here, so we're just playing that. I'm going to put my thumb on the F there. And I'm going to use my ring on the 5. And then I'm going to do the pinky with the double 7. Sorry, which is over here, which is the major 7. There's the F, the major 7. So it's going to... So it's different melody, isn't it? Now we're putting, you can see now the double 7 comes at the end, right? And then it's going to be the second to the end and the next one and third to the end and the next one as we move across. So the next one we're going to look at is E, right? So it gets trickier to sort of follow it. So this is, I'm just showing you one way you can do it. You can just read it from here too. So right. The next one will be, I think I'll start with the thumb on 1. oh, what do I do? Thumb on 1 on E, and I move under like that. Like that. Pinky ends on the 2. If E is the root of the exercise here, pinky ends on 2. So the different melodies all coming from the first melody. Right? And then we have, say, F. Oh, the last one, which starts on F again, right? Because we've also got a change of direction here, by the way, as you noticed. So, and that doesn't matter. We're just taking that bass note, moving it up. So it's a little tricky to get your head around it. You need to practice a bit. But, so the next one, so we've done E, right? And the last one will be the R, F is the bass, right ring, index on 1. So we're going to start index finger on 1, thumb, and index on 5 like that. So we're going to go 1, 1, and then we're going to do our ring, pinky on 1, which is the F again, and then back to the ring on the 7. That's a major 7th there. So, see, different now. All right, so we've come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 melodies, and we had how many notes? 4 notes, right? The reason we came up with more melodies is because we've doubled notes and we've come back as well, right? We've also come back. All right, so we're just taking bass notes and moving them up. Now you can do this with any melody. You can even do it with sheet music. You can watch the sheet music and you come up with one melody on the sheet music, and then you can just move the bass note up. So if we look at an example of that, say from maybe the previous lessons we did, I'll just show you the example. Okay, so we have a sheet music here. So with this, all we'll do is just take that first note here, right, and just move it over, right, over to here. And then we'll play from there to there. And then so that's all we're doing, right? Taking that and moving it over, right? Anyway, so that's it for this lesson. It's not a long one. It's a short lesson. It only, 17 minutes. Okay, so we can use this to inspire us to create songs. Anyway, that's it for this one. See you in the next lesson.